You're listening to Partnernomics Podcast, where we discuss the art and science of developing successful strategic partnerships. To learn more about the suite of Partnernomics solutions, visit partnernomics.com.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Partnernomics Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brigman, and we have an exciting, a really interesting podcast set up for today. We are speaking with Mr. Rajiv Ramanan from Freshworks. And Rajiv is doing some really cool stuff with Freshworks, several different types of partnerships, doing some stuff on the technology side, some marketplace work, which I'm really excited to dig into. But Rajiv, how you doing?
I'm good, Mark. Thanks a lot for having me on the podcast. Really excited to be talking to you and to everyone listening in.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time, and thanks for joining us from the other side of the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm based in Chennai in India, and it is the other side of the world. But currently, given the pandemic situation where we are all in, I think we are all on just one side of the world. That is the wrong side of the world.
Yeah, I think you're right. Rajiv, man, I'd love to just to let our listeners understand a little bit about your background. Man, we'll definitely get into the cool work that you're doing now, but if you would paint us a little bit of a picture of how you entered the business world, and then how you got into being the director of technology partnerships and startup programs at Freshworks.
Sure, Mark. I think I started my career in 2006 when I joined one of the large IT services companies in India, Infosys. And I've always been fascinated by technology and how it has really helped transform the world for us. And I joined as a technology analyst, and I started working on different banking projects globally. And I got a good opportunity to work for a very large customer in the UK, where I had the chance to lead a digital bank transformation for them. And it was one of the first projects that the customer was outsourcing. So I got to see a whole bunch of things in that project where we were able to transform the customer's impression on outsourcing, how we were able to work with them closely, define the business use cases, see how our technology can really automate a lot of processes that they were doing, and implement a whole new technology that really transformed their business for them. And post that experience, I realized that I wanted to be on the other side of the game, where I wanted to be on the business side and probably build and drive businesses. So I quit my job and I came back to India to do my MBA at the Indian School of Business. And that really opened up the world for me. I got exposure to multiple functions, how organizations are set up, and got to work with some of the best minds in the country and also the best professors from across the world. So that really opened up my view to the business side. And from then on, I went back into consulting. I decided that I'm not a very deep person. So by nature, I'm a very people person, and I realized that I want to always be on roles that are wide and not extremely deep. So I went back into consulting. So I did tech consulting for a year and a half, and again went back to UK. And that is when I got exposure to product management, where I built out one of the travel management solutions for a large bank again. And I was part of the project that we defined the entire product, and we were able to work with multiple stakeholders in the organization, got to understand the business benefits that we were able to drive by taking a product approach than a service approach, build out a product skeleton and stuff. And at that time, it really inspired me to come back and do something in a product company in the startup world. So I came back to India and I started working for another product company called IB Mobility, where I built out some of their new innovative products, right? So they were into the space of automating sales processes for FMCG and pharma companies, a completely different world for me. But building that product, they gave me a lot of flexibility to go ground up, do research, and I got a hang of working with a lot of sales guys on the field, how they go into markets, how they plan their day, how they sell, and all those things. And I got a good fortune to build out a couple of products for IV mobility. And then I realized that though we were doing SaaS at IV, we were not really leveraging the power of SaaS. We were having a few enterprise customers and serving them with a lot of service work as well. So I want to move to a pure product company that can really scale. And one of my personal goals at that point of time was I wanted my products or services to touch 1 million lives, right? So that's something that I see as a purpose above me, and I want to pursue that. And that is when I came across Freshworks. In fact, the office was right opposite to my previous company. And one day when I was having lunch, I saw this company and I was like, what is this? I went and did some research, and I was really fascinated by the vision and the way the company was shaping up. At that time, it was Freshdesk. And I decided to try it out. So you wouldn't believe, I didn't take a formal interview at a Freshdesk like a typical regular interview. Freshdesk has a 4-level interview process. And at that point of time, I was really busy at IV as well, and I didn't want them to really know that I was interviewing and stuff. So I actually walked into Freshdesk 4 days in a week for 2 hours every day to finish my interview rounds. And that's how I got into Freshdesk. And I really like the open culture and the way they treated me, and the energy was insane. So I decided I wanted to spend a considerable amount of my career at Freshdesk, and I joined Freshdesk at that point of time. And I joined in a product role, and I shipped out our current technology marketplace. And from then on, after launching the marketplace and scaling it to a certain level, I decided that I wanted to go even more deeper into the ecosystem play. That really fascinated me, because we are really in a world where we are moving away from siloed systems to democratic systems. So the last generation, we were when we talk about enterprise solutions and enterprise products, we used to be referring to the SAPs of the world, Oracles of the world, and Salesforce of the world, where everybody in the organization were using the same tools. But with the SaaS world coming in, and a lot of companies started realizing that maybe one tool is great at one function, but is not the best for all other functions in the organizations. And they started adopting to multiple tools within the same organization. And we realized that every tool has to talk to each other. And that is when you'll be able to really get a full view of customers and full view of the transactions that are happening, so that you can take more meaningful decisions and needle moving initiatives. And that is when I realized that, yes, that is a space that is getting really hard, but people are not working in a way that could, partnerships could be a different lever to the company. Partnerships could be a non-linear growth channel for the company. And that is when I decided to move away from a product role to a full-fledged GTM role, and currently running 3 or 4 non-linear growth programs for Freshworks. I know it's a long answer, but I hope that covered a bit of my career.
Yeah, definitely. So Rajiv, tell us a little bit more about Freshworks as a company. I mean, for those folks that may not be familiar with the organization, what its solutions are, what its history is, tell us a little bit about the company itself.
Sure. Freshworks, we are a 10 years young company. We started off in the year 2010 in a small place called Pallikarnai in Chennai, south of India. And at that time, there were not many B2B SaaS companies out of India. There were a few companies that were doing pretty well, but then we realized that there is a good space for us to go after some of the large systems that were out there in the world. And we started off 10 years back. And today, from in the 10 years time span, we've grown from 0 to 40,000 plus paying customers. We raised about $400 million in capital. We are valued at about $3.5 billion. That was the last valuation that we publicly announced a year and a half back. And we moved from a single product company. We launched with a customer support help desk, an omni-channel social first customer support help desk. Today, we have about 12 solutions, primarily operating in 2 spaces, customer engagement and employee engagement. In the customer engagement space, we have products from the first touch point of a customer with a business to the last touch point of a customer with a business, which means that we are having products in marketing automation, CRM, chat, live chat and bots, messaging products. We also have a call center on the cloud, and we have a full-fledged omni-channel customer support help desk with very modern interfaces, strong automations, and integrations with over 1,000+ applications. So that is on the CX side of things. We also have products on the employee experience side, where we have products called Fresh Service and Fresh Team, which focuses on internal IT support and ESM use cases for Fresh Service. And we have a full-fledged ATS and HRMS solutions with Fresh Team. So we believe in building extremely easy to use products that are very seamless to deploy with very strong ROI. And you can see the results of your implementations very, very quickly. Your digital transformations need not be spanning months or years. Here we are talking about a few weeks of implementation for a large enterprise, where you will start seeing ROI from the time you are able to deploy our solutions. And with end-to-end support for the customer, unlike a lot of SaaS companies where you are asked to work with a partner, we directly engage with you. We bring in partners who will help provide the value to you, but we are always there with you through the journey so that your end-to-end implementation is done and you are happy with what you're using with us. So that is Freshworks in a nutshell.
Rajiv, you mentioned how many customers do you guys have using your solution today?
We have 40,000+ customers globally.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's impressive. What's kind of the prototypical customer, or either customer size, or maybe like what their specialization is, or is it pretty universal?
Yeah. So to be honest, our products are meant to be universal because everybody needs customers and employees, and everybody wants to engage deeper with customers and employees. But we started off primarily as an SMB focused company. When we say SMB, we are talking about 0 to 250 employee size companies. And we are a global company from day one. We started off in India, but our first 5 customers came from 5 different continents. So we realized that we are able to sell to the global SMBs from India. And that's how we built our initial product and go-to-market strategy. But once we reached a certain scale, say 50 million, 75 million in revenue, we realized that we can't, and also our products also started maturing to meet the needs of mid-market and enterprise customers. So we started setting up our offices globally. We have about 13 offices globally now, where we cater to the mid-market segment, which is 250 to 500 customers, and then our enterprise customers who are 500 to 5,000+ employees falls under our enterprise segment. We are catering to those segments through our field teams set up in these regions and our partner network.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'd like for you to talk to us a little bit about your marketplace and what that was like, that experience, just from a strategy perspective, and then obviously leveraging partnerships. But talk to us about building and scaling your marketplace, and really what your marketplace, what is it? What does it comprise of, and how do your clients use it?
Sure. So as I mentioned, the primary need for a marketplace came in when we realized that we were losing a ton of deals to integrations, right? So as and when we are acquiring more and more customers in new geos, new segments, and new verticals, coming up with new use cases, we realized that the customers are using a plethora of tools, and it was a pretty long list where we had to, if we are trying to build everything as a native integration on top of our product, we realized very early that this might not help us scale. And we also saw that some of the largest companies that we compete with, and we are also inspired from, like Salesforce and Atlassian, etc., had huge marketplaces that are helping them to acquire and retain customers. And that really triggered us to look at a marketplace strategy very early in our growth trajectory, right? So typically companies invest in marketplaces when they are 100 million plus in revenue. We started investing in our marketplace once we were primarily at about 30 million in revenues itself. And at that point of time, we realized that the only way for, and more customers we speak to had more and more tools. So it was a long tail of tools, and we easily know that we cannot build all those integrations. So the strategy was for us to build a platform that will help third-party products to integrate with us, or even third-party developers and partners to build integrations with us extremely easily. And we should be able to list that, make it highly discoverable for other customers to benefit from, and scale that kind of a motion so that at some point of time, we'll be able to acquire customers, retain customers, and also go to market with a lot of these partners that will help us reduce our overall cost of acquiring customers as well. So that was the strategy when we started the marketplace in 2016. And once we launched it, I think we've stayed true to that vision of expanding that marketplace big time as well. And one thing that we were very, very particular about, even when we started, was somebody has to build an integration with us. It has to be easy. It should, the amount of effort or complication it takes to build an integration with us should not be a blocker for any partner to walk away from us. So with that kind of a vision, we built out a platform. We were one of the first to build a completely serverless app marketplace where third-party partners can completely build and host applications that we will host for them. So they need not worry about computing problems. They need not worry about infrastructure. They can just worry about solving the customer problem, and we could actually host it for them and scale it with them, right? So we were one of the first marketplaces in the world to launch a completely serverless app marketplace. Our SDK, if you have to build an integration with us, you don't need any special skills. You just need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is the most commonly used language skill in development environments, right? So we built our SDK on top of that so that people can easily build on top of us. We also made our documentation extremely easy, and we integrated with quite a few of the aggregators, so to say, like Zapier, etc., so that more and more players can start working with us through them as well. So that's how we thought about the marketplace, and that's the strategy that we took forward. And today we are reaping the rewards that are coming out of that plan that we designed early on.
Rajiv, how many different companies do you have that you're working with on the marketplace?
So our marketplace has more than 1,000 plus integrations. In fact, I don't know the exact number as of now, but we are definitely over 1,100 now. And different companies, it'll easily be about more than 600 plus companies that we work with very closely, right? So, and our partner team as well, the way we designed our team is to ensure that we are working with a wide set of partners and across multiple tiers, so that we are able to provide value to each of them who are on our marketplace. And that is the, if you talk about whom we are very, very deeply engaged in, I would say we have definitely touched and worked with more than 400 plus partners, but about 80 to 100 plus we work on a weekly basis with them.
Rajiv, talk to us about the different types of partnerships that you help manage. So obviously you have these, technology-based partners with these, these app developers, these solutions providers. What are some of the other types of partnerships that you manage?
Yeah, sure. So technology partnerships is one side where we are talking about partners with whom, with our product companies, with whom we do co-marketing and co-selling to drive growth for both the parties. Other than that, I manage the startup program where we launched it as a paid forward initiative. So I launched it in 2019, late 2019. And we decided that a lot of startups today are going through a difficult journey where they have to buy multiple tools and multiple products. And they also don't come up with, many of them are first-time entrepreneurs. They don't have the right knowledge to understand and navigate the entrepreneurship world as well. And we saw that because a set of people that we talk to come back to us with the same set of questions and same kind of understanding about different things, etc. So being a startup coming from outside the valley and to be able to compete and grow along with Silicon Valley companies, we thought we have acquired a bunch of knowledge that we can share to all these startups and also provide them the right set of tools which can help them scale rapidly without having to worry about changing their tools consistently or investing in projects that do not keep them productive in doing what they do best, right? So we launched this program in 2019 where we partnered with startup ecosystem players like incubators, accelerators, VCs, and government bodies everywhere globally. And we form, we work with them very closely to ensure that we provide them with our tools for the startups that are part of their communities. We gave credits on our products, which is very generous amount of credits, I'd say, for startups to get started without having to worry about upfront costs and all those things. We gave them a strong white glove onboarding experience where it is not just throwing credits and walking away. Rather, we help them get onboarded, give them the benefits of having integrated solutions, and help them set up as well to grow. And also provided them the right mentors. So we assembled a set of stellar mentors that are working in different areas where startups need help. And we were able to bring our senior leaders and senior mentors to come and talk to them about different journeys so that the startups can get benefited from. And we also started creating a whole bunch of content, and very curated good content, right? Today, content is everywhere, but real benefiting content, you really have to search through and sift through and get, right? So we put in a team that has solid experience in the startup world to build our own podcast called the Orbit Shift podcast that talks about very relevant problems from people who have been there and done that. And that is something we started as another give back initiative. And we started hosting our Against All Odds Summit, which is one of the biggest events that Freshworks has executed so far, and also very focused for startups in 4 different continents. And that's how we started the program. And today we have more than 3,500 startups who have signed up for our credits and are working with us, and a lot more customers who are there willing to come on board with us. And VCs, incubators, accelerators, everyone's given us fantastic feedback on the way we approached it and way we are going into market. And this is also a global program. We operate in multiple geos, and we are going deep with these ecosystems. So that is one thing that I do as part of my role. And the third partnership type that I run is I also run the channel partnerships for India and SAARC region. Again, being a wide guy, I love to solve 0 to 1 problems. And India as a channel market was very new to us, and we were having some trouble scaling that. So I took over that in 2019, end of 2019. So 2020, 2021, we've been doing that here. And I helped build out the whole ecosystem here. We have more than 90 plus partners whom we've onboarded, and we are scaling the partnership really well in India, where we are doing the indirect sales with partners in the whole SAARC region. And the last partnership that I run is the GSI and Strat partners. So these are typically the large SIs and the large strategic companies that we have to work with, right? So the likes of Infosys, Tata Global Consultancies, Accenture, Zensar, etc. on one side, and AWS, Microsoft, Google on the other side. So we realize that for these kind of partnerships, it's a very long game. And especially in the GSA partnerships, the rule of thumb, when I spoke to multiple people running that partnership, is time to first dollar is about 18 months in these kind of partnerships. So I love the long game there, and I wanted to really play that to understand how deep we can go. And coming from the service industry, I had the background to pick it up and run. So we set up a team globally for us to work with these partners. In fact, we cracked our first partner and did our first PR with the world major Tata Consultancy Services in 6 months from the time we launched the program. And we are able to now we've done more than 150 plus projects with the Tata Consultancy in the 2 years of relationship that we share with them. And we are able to scale that pretty non-linearly. And with AWS, Microsoft, Google, Slack, and other partners, again, we are playing the long game. We've invested in resources that are focusing on these partners in each of the geos, or top geos, and go very deep with those partners. And we want to grow up in the partner program for them, so that we are able to drive more opportunities for us, and also establish ourselves as a thought leader and establish our brand more prominently along with the biggies of the world. So that's how that is my portfolio, and I hope that gives a view of what I do.
You guys are doing a lot of work. You guys are doing a ton of work. Man, just what you had described with your startup program just sounds phenomenal. I mean, you have thousands of people, thousands of these companies that are in there kind of playing a part. You guys are providing some amazing resources to them. Does it seem like that? I mean, that program, obviously, all the resources that you're putting into it, the time, effort, energy, the mentoring, I mean, all the different components that goes into it. It sounds like an incredible investment that you guys are making in that.
Yeah, I think it is extremely exciting for me. And this is one of the programs where we are able to see tangible results very quickly. And we know that the number of startups is growing every day, every minute, I would say. And the ecosystem is opening up across the world. And they all need the support and the right tools as well. So we believe that it has purpose, and it also has we also have the ability to work with these startups very quickly, and we are able, and the advantage of having a team that is very diverse, like how I think I have a phenomenal team out here who is very hungry and passionate about the purpose of really helping startups get wings, and we are able to drive that mission very, very efficiently, I'd say.
Rajiv, what? So it sounds like you guys, your team, you manage a lot of different partnerships in at least 3 different lanes. I'd like to just kind of get some insights from you on what are some of the must-haves, the must-dos whenever you're kind of standing up these programs and just building them to scale from from a management perspective.
Sure, great question here. So I think one of the first things that we need to define is the objective for a program. Every program should have a very, very clearly defined purpose. It should not be a Me Too program in the company, right? So if you are talking about channels, channels is definitely a sales strategy for every type of company, I would say, right? Everybody would love to have more hands to go and sell them. But a company should reach a certain scale and a certain size and a certain amount of predictability before they invest in channels. Day one, you have to think about channels from day one, but you have to wait until you are able to clearly establish a sales motion that works for you, and then pass it on to a partner who will be able to carry the bag for you into the market and go and sell. And designing the right incentives and the sales structures within the organization to support each of those initiatives is very important. With channels, we should always be very clear that if we are going indirect, we are going to be facing channel conflict from day one, right? So how are you thinking about it? What is the rules of engagement that you need to establish between direct sales, partner sales, so that everybody is incentivized towards the same purpose of growth for the company? So that is one must have for me. A clear purpose for the program, clear buy-in on why we are doing that. And third, clear incentive structure so that everybody who's going to be interacting with the team are incentivized the same way so that they can succeed. The second most important thing that we need to understand when we are starting a program and launching it is every program has different gestation periods. Channels, what I've seen, when you launch in a new market or when you launch a program, you definitely have to keep a buffer of 6 months for it to ramp up. You cannot treat a channel partner to ramp the same way your direct sales rep is going to ramp up. So give ample time for each of the programs to ramp up. So technology partnerships, for me, it took about 2.5 to 3 years for me to figure out the entire go-to-market piece. We started off with basic pieces, but for me to build a predictable lead gen and a revenue engine out of it, it took me more than 3 years. And that is a time when I had enough partners, when I had enough clout in the market where I'm adding value to my partners as well. And we have to identify partners who carry the same incentive structure as you do. Like, say, for example, if I am goaling my partner managers on sourced opportunities and revenue, they have to be working with partner managers on another technology company who's carrying the same goal. That is when they will ensure that the sales teams are interlocking more often. We are able to launch and scale sales initiatives, co-marketing initiatives. So we track every outcome that is coming out of it so that your numbers are being met. If you are carrying a revenue goal and your counterpart is carrying a partner engagement goal, I think that program will fail. So you need to ensure that you're goaling the team in the right way. I've learned my lessons in this. We went too fast ahead to try and make tech partnerships into a pure revenue engine. But I think that was a learning for me, where I decided that we have to step down a little bit, but we have to go in slowly, because it needs alignment from your sales organization, customer success organization, your pre-sales organization, marketing organization, everybody in the company to work with you closely to make this a successful endeavor for you and your partner. So that is one thing that I'll say is a must-have, and we should ensure that every team that is collaborating has the right incentives in place. And if you're launching a GSI kind of a program, you need to be ready for the long game, right? You should not be thinking about an immediate ROI. You should be thinking about minimum 12 to 18 months where you're able to see dollars starting to trickle coming out of that engine. And you have to decide on what is the gives that you need to have for these guys so that they engage with you. In many cases, they are such a large organization, you are bound to get lost in the organization itself, right? To navigate, get to the right person, excite them with one or two gifts that they will start looking up to. Either you should be closing a real gap that they see in the market, and or you should be able to provide them the right incentives and give them a few deals first so that they are excited about you, so that you can build a practice in them and scale that. So you need to understand that part, what is needed for each of those partnerships to launch it, nurture it, and then scale it.
Yeah, such great insights. So many times, I think, whenever people launch new programs in particular with companies, man, they just don't give themselves enough runway. And they do. I mean, just generally speaking, I like the numbers that you said, 18 months. I mean, generally speaking, it takes 18 months to get a program launched, to get, partners recruited, to get partners successful, and to start to make a positive ROI. And so many times, I think our executives and other leaders just try to get it faster than that. And more often than not, it doesn't work if they don't give it enough runway.
Absolutely, Mark. Absolutely. And I've seen that in many places as well. You can't launch it as an initiative and not give enough air cover for it.
Well, Rajiv, we got one last question for you before we let you go. And I just want to jump in your brain for a minute and have you predict the future for us. You've seen a lot of really exciting stuff happen over the last several years as you're continuing to put together your marketplace and ecosystem, and playing in a couple different ecosystems there with Freshworks. But how do you see the next, let's say, 5 years playing out from Freshworks perspective?
I think from a Freshworks perspective, we are just entering a huge growth phase, I would say, right? So we are and given the width of our products and the width of our offerings, for us, the more and more we invest in engaging with our customers, right, and integrating with multiple other solutions, I see that we are going to be able to provide a real 360 view of customers to companies. And I think we can really, I am really excited about the new kind of customer journeys that companies will be able to design, leveraging a lot of our tools as well as our partner solutions in the market, right? For example, we've seen that how in 1.5 years, e-commerce has become the main way in which people do business, rather than being contributing to about 5 to 10% of businesses, right? So that was driven and was possible only because technology was available, and not just siloed technology, but integrated technologies. So integrated technologies with end-to-end view of customer data flow from different solutions is going to be a key thing that I see as a trend that is going to continue. The more and more SaaS companies come, everybody has to start thinking about being open from day one. What I mean by that is they should not be building closed ecosystems. They should be open to ecosystems. That is when they will also be able to achieve scale very quickly. And you will also see more and more businesses that get launched and grow and even go IPO only by selling on technology marketplaces. I think we've seen a good set of examples there in the Salesforce world, like companies like Tag.ai. We are seeing companies like Sage, which are doing phenomenally well by being a primary vendor for a certain category in a certain scaled ecosystem. We will see more of that coming from a lot of entrepreneurs in these tech ecosystems. And I see even large companies like AWS, Google, etc. are now investing in marketplaces. So I think that is going to be a huge GTM channel. And the third trend that I'm going to see is by working more closely with partners in multiple of these ecosystems, we are going to see a good drop in customer acquisition costs as well. So today, most of the SaaS companies have a playbook. They go invest in digital marketing, invest in Google, invest in LinkedIn, invest in multiple other channels where they're going to get inbound signups, and they're going to nurture them, scale them, and deliver. And if you see in the past 3 to 4 years, the CAC for SaaS companies has gone up by more than 30% because more and more startups come in the same categories. The bidding goes up, your costs are going up. So I think if we are able, if us and other technology partners in the regions that we play in are going after the same customer base, if we invest in organic marketing even more with some of our partners, and even if we go for paid campaigns, we can actually halve the cost and double the leads that we'll be able to get through these partners. So I think that is going to become mainstay in the next 2 to 3 years, when tech partnerships are going to be one of the major channels, even in the marketing scheme of things for companies. So these are
great insights. Great insights, Mr. Rajiv. I sure do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us on the Partnernomics podcast. And man, definitely looking forward to staying in touch and watching the great things that you continue to do with the team there at Freshworks.
Definitely, Mark. Thanks a lot for having me here. Very happy to have shared a few words, and happy to meet anybody who's interested in partnerships as well. I'm available on all social, so reach out if you need anything. So thanks a lot, Mark, again. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Partnernomics Podcast is brought to you by Partnernomics. Learn how to leverage the power of partnership. To listen to more episodes of Partnernomics Podcast, visit partnernomics.com.